The AI Talent Pool, A New Vocabulary for the Next Economy, by John Rector. Beyond the Threshold. Every great shift in the economy begins with a new word. The phrase AI agent helped the market get through its first serious conceptual hurdle. It told us that artificial intelligence was no longer merely answering prompts. It could act. It could decide. It could carry out bounded work. It could pursue goals within an environment. That was an important threshold term. It separated passive systems from active ones, tools from participants, software that sat still from software that moved. But it is not the final term. Every market evolves a language that fits its moment. In the early days of aviation, we spoke of flying machines. As the technology matured, we developed a rich vocabulary of airframes, carriers, routes, and operators. The language grew more precise because the market grew more complex, and complexity demands better words. Artificial intelligence is now undergoing the same pressure. As AI becomes economically embedded in everyday operations, the market will need a broader and more commercially stable category, one capable of holding many distinct forms of machine performance without collapsing into recursive confusion. I believe that category will be AI talent. The reason is simple. The future economy will not contain just one kind of AI worker. It will contain a talent pool. Some systems will look like employees, some will look like assistants, some will look like companions. Some will be invisible infrastructure. Some will be branded personalities that people form genuine relationships with. Some will reason deeply and quietly about complex problems. Some will speak publicly on behalf of companies, institutions, and individuals. Trying to force all of that into the word agent is technically serviceable, but commercially clumsy. Talent is the better superset because it organizes the market around capability, specialization, and performance, rather than around one narrow implementation concept. This book is about that coming talent pool, what it contains, how to understand it, and what it means for the way we work, buy, manage, and think about the economy taking shape around us. We will move through the argument in stages. First, we will look at why AI agent was a useful term, and why its very success will eventually make it inadequate. Then we will examine why talent is the stronger commercial word. Then we will map the major archetypes that will populate the AI talent pool. The digital workers, intelligent assistants, service performers, ambient operators, reasoning entities, synthetic personalities, branded companions, executive proxies, orchestrators, and companion intelligences that will define the next phase of the economy. Finally, we will turn to what all of this means for you, whether you are a buyer, a builder, an operator, or simply someone trying to understand the world you are living in. The deeper point is this: the economy does not buy agency in the abstract. It buys talent that can reliably perform under real conditions. Once the market accepts that, the real conversation begins. Not merely about whether AI can act, but about what kinds of AI talent exist, how they differ, where they belong, and how institutions will learn to represent, manage, deploy, and compare them. That conversation is now beginning. This book is an attempt to give it a vocabulary. Chapter 1. Why AI agent was the right first word. To understand where language is going, it helps to understand where it came from. The phrase AI agent emerged at a particular moment, when the technology crossed from passive response to active execution. Earlier AI systems were, in the most literal sense, responders. You gave them input, they gave you output. They did not persist between interactions. They did not remember context. They did not initiate. They did not pursue goals across a series of steps in an uncertain environment. When that changed, when systems began to plan, to use tools, to take sequences of actions in pursuit of a defined objective, the market needed a word for it. And the word that arrived was agent. The choice was not arbitrary. In philosophy and cognitive science, agency refers to the capacity to act. An agent is something that does things, not just something that exists or responds. Importing this concept into the world of AI gave the technology a new frame. It suggested these systems were not merely smarter autocomplete engines. They were entities with bounded initiative. That reframing mattered enormously. It helped investors see a new category. It helped engineers articulate what they were building. It helped early adopters explain to their organizations why this technology was different from what had come before. In the early phase of any new market, technical language dominates. Engineers, founders, and early adopters create working vocabulary based on mechanism. Agent did exactly that. It communicated the mechanism. It said, in shorthand, this system can act with some level of autonomy under defined constraints. That was a useful and accurate shorthand. For several years, it was the right term for the right moment. It is worth pausing to appreciate what AI Agent actually accomplished before we examine its limits. Words in markets do real work. They shape what people look for, what they are willing to pay for, and how they explain things to their peers and superiors. The word agent accomplished several things at once. It separated this new class of AI from passive chatbots and search tools. It signaled that the technology had crossed a threshold of capability. It gave builders and investors a shared vocabulary for discussing architectures, delegation frameworks, tool use, and autonomous planning. It also created a useful conceptual space for early commercial development. Organizations that would have been skeptical of deploying a chatbot could frame the conversation differently. Not, we are using a chatbot, but we are deploying an agent to handle a defined category of work. The second framing implies reliability, scope, and accountability in ways the first does not. All of that was real progress. The language earned its adoption. But mechanism language has a built-in limitation. It describes what a thing is, not what it does in the world. Markets do not buy mechanisms. They buy outcomes. They buy reduced risk, improved performance, lower cost, better service, faster throughput, and higher satisfaction. They buy things that reliably perform under conditions of uncertainty and variation. A term rooted in mechanism can only take a market so far before it starts to constrain more than it clarifies. This is why every successful technology eventually evolves beyond its first vocabulary. The internet was described in terms of transfer protocols and network nodes before it became the web, the cloud, the platform economy. Mobile technology was described in terms of cellular networks and personal digital assistants before it became the smartphone era. In each case, the vocabulary shifted from mechanism to experience, from architecture to value. AI is now approaching that same inflection point. And the pressure is coming not just from the technology, but from the market itself. Chapter 2, The Coming Recursion Problem. When a word starts meaning everything, it means nothing. The moment commercial infrastructure begins to form around a new technology, something interesting happens to its language. The vocabulary that worked among builders and early adopters starts to buckle under the weight of real-world complexity. This is where AI Agent finds itself today. Imagine a business owner in 2029 asking a simple question: which agent do you use? That seems straightforward, but consider what it might mean. Does the question refer to the AI system that answers phones, schedules appointments, handles inbound documents, and resolves routine customer issues? Or does it refer to the human representative who manages pricing, service level expectations, escalation rules, and liability boundaries for that AI? The AI is called an agent because it acts with bounded autonomy. The human intermediary is also called an agent because that is the commercial term for someone who negotiates, places, and manages on behalf of another party. Both meanings are correct. Both are in use simultaneously, and their collision creates exactly the kind of friction that mature markets cannot afford. That ambiguity is not a side issue. It is a sign that the category is maturing faster than the vocabulary. Markets are remarkably efficient at fixing language problems, usually faster than academics or technologists expect. When a term creates confusion that costs money, the market finds a replacement. The replacement does not always come from the technical community. Often it arrives from the commercial side, from the people writing contracts, building sales pitches, explaining services to buyers, and differentiating their offerings in a crowded market. and the commercial replacement almost always moves in the same direction, away from mechanism and toward value, away from what a thing is and toward what it does, what it costs, what it delivers, and how it fits into the buyer's existing mental model of the world. Human talent markets already have a well-established framework for thinking about represented performance. Talent, agencies, rosters, placements, specializations, rates, and fit. It is a framework that buyers understand without needing an explanation, and it maps remarkably cleanly onto the emerging AI economy. Even today, the strain is apparent. In any sufficiently sophisticated conversation about deploying AI commercially, participants find themselves working around the ambiguity of agent. They add qualifiers. They say the AI side agent or the human agent. They reach for other words, system, performer, assistant, worker, precisely because agent keeps generating ambiguity. This is how language evolves in markets, not through a single announced replacement, but through the gradual accumulation of workarounds until a better term becomes self-evidently superior. We are in the workaround phase right now. The better term is already visible. Chapter 3. Talent, a better superset. There is a subtle but important distinction between agency and talent, and understanding it is the key to understanding why the vocabulary shift is inevitable. Agency refers to capacity for action. Talent refers to quality of performance. These are not the same thing. A person can have agency, the ability to act, to make decisions, to pursue goals, without being particularly good at anything. Talent implies something more, consistent excellence in a specific domain, under real conditions, in ways that others recognize and value. The market pays for the second more readily than it pays for the first. A useful umbrella term for a commercial category must accomplish three things. First, it must separate the performer from the representative. In the world ahead, many AI systems will be represented, scoped, priced, and placed by humans or firms, functioning very much like talent agencies. In that environment, calling both the machine performer and the human intermediary an agent becomes awkward. The AI is not best understood as the agent in the commercial sense. It is the talent. Its representative is the agent. Second, it must accommodate wide variation in form. The AI economy will not be populated by one archetype. It will contain specialists, personalities, operators, analysts, companions, coordinators, hosts, and invisible systems that do not fit neatly into today's categories. A good umbrella term must hold all of them without forcing any of them into a shape they do not naturally occupy. Third, it must orient buyers toward the real question. Not what is the architecture, but what is this intelligence unusually good at? That is how markets sort value. They do not pay for taxonomy. They pay for differentiated performance. Talent solves all three of these problems simultaneously. It separates performer from representative by using the same model that already governs human talent markets. Athletes have agents, actors have agents, speakers have agents. The one doing the work is not called the agent in the commercial conversation. The agent is the one brokering access to the performer. Once AI becomes good enough to perform in economically meaningful ways, we will naturally start organizing it the same way. It accommodates wide variation without forcing conformity. A digital worker and a branded companion are very different things. A specialized reasoning entity and a synthetic personality operate on entirely different principles, but all of them are talent. The word does not require them to look alike. It only requires that they perform, and it orients buyers toward the right question. Nobody hires an AI merely because it can act. They hire it because it is unusually good at something specific, calming anxious customers, qualifying leads at scale, analyzing complex documents, maintaining tone across thousands of interactions, staying available around the clock without fatigue. That is talent. That is what the economy will pay for. When we say AI talent pool, we are talking about the total population of economically useful artificial intelligences available for placement, deployment, licensing, representation, management, or direct ownership. That is a labor market concept. This framing matters because it imports an entire apparatus of commercial understanding. Talent can be specialized or generalist. It can be exclusive or broadly available. It can be bespoke or off the shelf. It can be premium or commodity. It can be local or portable. It can be raw or highly polished. It can be represented or self-placed. None of those distinctions map cleanly onto the word agent. All of them map cleanly onto the word talent. And once buyers begin thinking in those terms, the conversation becomes dramatically more productive. Instead of arguing about architectures and model families, buyers and sellers can talk about fit, specialization, track record, scope, rate, and representation. Those are conversations the market already knows how to have. Chapter 4. A map of the AI talent pool. The cleanest way to understand AI talent is not as a single category, but as a field of archetypes. These archetypes are not rigid. Many systems will overlap categories. Some will evolve from one into another over time. But the distinctions are still useful because they reflect different market needs and different buyer expectations. The purpose of this map is not academic neatness. It is commercial clarity. Without distinctions, every conversation about AI collapses into vague generalities. One person imagines a chatbot, another imagines a digital employee, another imagines a companion, another imagines a reasoning engine, another imagines a call handler. All of them are talking about AI, but they are not talking about the same thing. They are not even in the same market. The talent pool view fixes that by asking better questions. What form of performance is needed here? Is the value relational, operational, analytical, symbolic, or ambient? Should this talent be visible or invisible, general or bespoke, branded or neutral, attached to a role, a person, or a process, measured by warmth, speed, rigor, continuity, conversion, precision, or trust? These are talent questions, not just technology questions. And once the market begins asking them, the conversation becomes much more mature. Here are the 10 major archetypes. The digital worker. AI talent designed to occupy a definable role inside an organization with assigned responsibilities, expected outputs, and performance metrics. The intelligent assistant. Narrower and more relational than the digital worker, attached primarily to a person or team rather than a function. The autonomous service performer. AI talent that delivers an externally experienced service with minimal ongoing human supervision. The ambient business operator. AI talent that runs continuously in the background, monitoring, maintaining, and keeping operational threads from collapsing. The specialized reasoning entity. AI talent defined primarily by the depth and structure of its cognition rather than its social presentation. The synthetic personality. AI talent whose coherence comes from an intentionally designed persona, consistent, recognizable, and emotionally intelligible. The branded companion. A special case of synthetic personality designed to embody and accompany a brand, institution, or public identity over time. The executive proxy. Premium AI talent built to think, filter, respond, and coordinate in a way that mirrors the preferences and decision style of a principal. Orchestration talent. AI talent responsible for coordinating multiple AI systems, tools, workflows, and handoffs into a coherent operating pattern. And companion intelligence. AI talent designed not merely to support a function, but to remain present to a person or community in an ongoing, relationally meaningful way. We will explore each of these in depth in the chapters ahead. Chapter 5. Workers, Assistants, and the Operators of Daily Life. 3 of the most commercially important archetypes in the AI talent pool share a common quality. They operate close to the daily rhythm of organizational life. They are not reserved for extraordinary circumstances. They show up every day, handle the ordinary and the routine, and make everything else possible. These are the digital worker, the intelligent assistant, and the ambient business operator. They are, in different ways, the infrastructure of the AI economy. The digital worker. The digital worker is the most intuitive category in the AI talent pool because it most closely mirrors traditional labor. This is AI talent designed to occupy a definable role inside an organization. It may not appear in human form, but it behaves like a role holder. It has assigned responsibilities, expected outputs, performance metrics, and operating boundaries. It may process invoices, reconcile data, prepare reports, monitor queues, perform intake, draft communications, classify documents, or support routine internal workflows. The digital worker is not merely a tool being picked up and put down. It is closer to a persistent labor resource. It has a place in the operating model. What makes this category powerful is not novelty, but continuity. Businesses already understand workers. They understand shifts, responsibilities, key performance indicators, supervision, handoff logic, and replacement cost. The digital worker fits into that mental framework with relatively little friction. This is one reason the category will grow quickly. It translates well into budgets, org charts, and management language. A CFO who is skeptical of deploying an AI agent may be perfectly comfortable hiring a digital worker to handle accounts payable reconciliation. The substance is identical, the vocabulary is the difference. The intelligent assistant. The intelligent assistant is narrower and more relational than the digital worker. A digital worker belongs primarily to a function. An intelligent assistant belongs primarily to a person, team, or immediate context. It helps someone operate more effectively. It drafts, summarizes, reminds, schedules, listens, researches, organizes, compares, and keeps context alive across a stream of interactions. The assistant category will survive and thrive because it matches a deeply familiar human need, augmentation. Many people do not want to hire a worker first. They want to become more capable themselves. They want a second mind at the edge of their own mind. The intelligent assistant is therefore one of the most intimate forms of AI talent. It lives near the user's flow of attention. It understands preferences. It accumulates context. It increasingly feels less like software and more like a cognitive extension. The best intelligent assistants will be distinguished not by raw capability, but by fit. An assistant that knows your communication style, anticipates your needs, and matches your working rhythm is more valuable than a more powerful system that requires constant calibration. This is already true of human assistants. It will be equally true of AI ones. The ambient business operator. The ambient business operator may become one of the most important and least appreciated categories in the entire AI talent economy. This is AI talent that does not demand constant user attention and is not always experienced as a visible interface. Instead, it runs continuously in the background or at the edge of operations. It monitors, notices, nudges, updates, coordinates, cleans, checks, escalates, and maintains motion across a business process. Its defining trait is not personality. It is persistent situational awareness. An ambient operator may watch the inbox, triage inbound leads, maintain data hygiene, follow up on dormant opportunities, reconcile inconsistencies across systems, monitor deadlines, detect service gaps, manage low-level exceptions, or keep operational threads from collapsing between departments. This category is important because much of business failure does not come from dramatic strategic mistakes. It comes from unattended small things, the follow-up that never happened, the data that drifted out of sync, the deadline that was lost in a crowded inbox, the opportunity that went cold because no one reached back in time. The ambient business operator exists to reduce that unattendedness. It is not glamorous talent, but it may become some of the highest return on investment talent in the market because it restores continuity. It is the difference between an organization that intermittently performs and one that remains coherently awake. Chapter 6: Performers, Personalities, and the Public Face of AI. Some AI talent will operate entirely out of sight, running in back offices, managing workflows, reconciling data, but other talent will be public-facing. It will speak, it will present, it will be experienced directly by customers, guests, clients, and audiences. And for that talent, the quality of the performance itself is what the market pays for. 3 archetypes belong in this category: the autonomous service performer, the synthetic personality, and the branded companion. They differ in scope and purpose, but they share a common characteristic. They are experienced, not merely used. The autonomous service performer. The autonomous service performer is AI talent that delivers an externally experienced service with minimal ongoing human supervision. This category matters because it is where AI stops feeling like back-office support and starts feeling like a live commercial actor. It answers calls, greets customers, books appointments, handles inbound questions, routes issues, qualifies leads, follows scripts when necessary, adapts when appropriate, maintains tone, stays available. It is a performer because the value is not merely task completion. It is live execution under conditions of uncertainty, social variability, and real-time demand. This kind of AI talent will be everywhere: in hospitality, healthcare navigation, field services, real estate, retail, customer support, logistics, and events. It occupies the front edge between an organization and the public. The market will care deeply about quality here because service performers are reputationally exposed. They are not hidden. Their strengths and weaknesses are experienced directly by customers, guests, patients, clients, and partners. Consistency, warmth, reliability under pressure, the ability to de-escalate a tense interaction, the capacity to hold a tone through a difficult conversation. These are the performance qualities that will determine commercial value in this category. The synthetic personality. The synthetic personality is AI talent whose coherence comes from an intentionally designed persona. This does not mean it is fake in a trivial sense. All professional roles contain performance. A mitred performs, a host performs, a spokesperson performs, a coach performs, a beloved radio voice performs. Personality is not the opposite of utility. In many markets, personality is utility. The synthetic personality category recognizes that some AI talent will be selected because of the stability, distinctiveness, and emotional intelligibility of its character. It may be warm, direct, formal, witty, calming, premium, playful, or ceremonial. What matters is that it is consistent enough to be experienced as a recognizable social presence. This matters wherever trust, comfort, tone, and relationship continuity influence outcomes. Education, hospitality, elder care support, internal communications, high-touch service brands, and consumer products will all have strong use for this category. The branded companion. The branded companion is a special case of synthetic personality, but it deserves its own category because its purpose is not just performance, it is affiliation. A branded companion is AI talent designed to embody and accompany a brand, founder, institution, family, or public identity over time. It is less like a one-off assistant and more like an ongoing representative presence. It may welcome, explain, guide, narrate, teach, answer recurring questions, preserve a particular voice, and create a sense of continuity across touchpoints. What distinguishes the branded companion is that it lives partly in symbolic space. It is not just completing tasks. It is carrying identity. This category will matter for creators, educators, local businesses, media brands, public figures, membership organizations, luxury brands, experiential venues, and institutions that want a living interface rather than static information. A branded companion is not just useful because it is available. It is useful because it is recognizable. It gives the brand a memory, a tone, and a portable presence. The same voice that greets a guest at the hotel's front desk can answer a question on the app at midnight, send a follow-up after the stay, and personalize the next booking conversation. That coherence across touchpoints is not a technical feature. It is relationship continuity. And relationship continuity is what loyalty is built from. Chapter 7. Reasoning Entities, Orchestrators, and Companions. The final group of archetypes in the AI talent pool operates at the edges of what most people currently associate with artificial intelligence. These are not chat interfaces or voice assistants in the conventional sense. They are systems defined by intellectual depth, coordination capability, or the quality of sustained human relationship. The specialized reasoning entity. The specialized reasoning entity is AI talent defined primarily by the depth and structure of its cognition. Where the autonomous service performer is judged by fluency and responsiveness, the specialized reasoning entity is judged by inference, judgment, synthesis, and disciplined thought. It may analyze contracts, compare policies, examine claims, evaluate scenarios, pressure test strategies, review evidence, or produce expert-grade reasoning inside a narrow domain. This category will matter enormously in law, finance, medicine-adjacent workflows, procurement, policy analysis, engineering review, research support, and any environment where weak reasoning is expensive. The word entity is useful here because this talent may not present socially at all. It may not have a visible persona. It may not need a voice. What matters is the integrity of the reasoning performance. This is where buyers will begin to realize that not all AI talent should be judged by conversational charm. Some of the most valuable talent in the pool will be quiet, rigorous, and nearly invisible, known not for style, but for intellectual reliability. The executive proxy. One of the most valuable premium categories in the AI talent pool will be the executive proxy. This is AI talent built to think, filter, respond, summarize, prepare, and coordinate in a way that mirrors the preferences, standards, and decision style of a principal. It does not merely assist the executive. It increasingly stands in for the executive in bounded contexts. That might mean triaging opportunities, drafting messages in the principal's voice, screening inbound requests, preparing decision memos, representing preferences in scheduling, or maintaining continuity across fragmented obligations. This category will be especially important for founders, advisors, operators, investors, public intellectuals, family offices, and any person whose judgment is scarce relative to the volume of demands made upon it. The executive proxy is not a general worker. It is talent shaped around one person's center of gravity. It is closer to representation than clerical support. And because proximity to judgment is so valuable, this category will likely command premium positioning in the market. Orchestration talent. Not all AI talent will do visible work directly. Some will manage other talent. Orchestration talent is responsible for coordinating multiple AI systems, tools, workflows, and handoffs into a coherent operating pattern. It determines who should act, when, under what conditions, with what escalation logic, and with what memory carried forward. This category will become increasingly important as organizations move beyond one or two isolated deployments and begin running actual AI ecosystems. The challenge then is no longer finding a single capable system. It is maintaining coordinated performance across many specialized systems. Orchestration talent may sit above service performers, reasoning entities, digital workers, and assistants, knitting them into a functioning whole. It is closer to a producer, dispatcher, or operating conductor than to a single-role worker. This category matters because talent pools become economically powerful only when coordination costs do not consume all the value they create. Companion intelligence. The final major category is companion intelligence. Companion intelligence is AI talent designed not merely to support a brand or execute a function, but to remain present to a person or community in an ongoing way. It may teach, encourage, converse, remember, coach, accompany, reflect, and help maintain motivation or orientation over time. The word companion matters because not all economically valuable intelligence will be judged by task completion alone. Some will be judged by whether it improves a person's felt capacity to continue, to learn, to stay regulated, or to remain connected. This category will be especially relevant in education, spiritual formation, elder support, coaching, creator communities, and personal development ecosystems. Its importance should not be underestimated. Human beings do not live by efficiency alone. Presence has value. Ongoing accompaniment has value. A market eventually forms around whatever reliably improves lived experience. Chapter 8. The Rise of the AI Talent Agency. The real institutional form that will normalize the phrase AI talent is the emergence of the AI Talent Agency. Not just software vendors, not just model providers, not just consultants who help companies deploy AI tools. Agencies. Firms that represent a roster of AI talent, know which systems are best suited for which environments, negotiate terms, define allowable scope, set guardrails, and manage service conditions. This is not a radical prediction. It is the natural endpoint of a pattern that appears in every mature talent market. In every domain where performance becomes economically valuable, three things eventually happen. First, the performers differentiate. They develop distinct specializations, styles, and reputations. Second, buyers struggle to navigate that differentiation on their own. The market becomes complex enough that expert intermediation has value. Third, representation emerges. Agents, agencies, and brokers appear to bridge the gap between what performers can do and what buyers need. The same pattern is now clearly forming in AI. The performers are differentiating rapidly. A system optimized for hospitality service performance is meaningfully different from one optimized for legal document review. A branded companion built for a luxury real estate firm is meaningfully different from an ambient operator deployed for a logistics company. These are not merely technical variations. They are distinct talent profiles with different strengths, different fit requirements, and different commercial terms. Buyers are already struggling to navigate this differentiation. The market for AI deployment is filled with confusion, mismatched expectations, failed implementations, and expensive course corrections. Most of these failures are not technical failures. They are fit failures, cases where the wrong talent was placed in the wrong environment with the wrong scope and the wrong expectations. Representation is the natural solution. An AI talent agency will not merely sell access to software. It will represent a roster. It will know which AI personalities, specialties, and operating profiles are best suited for which environments. It will negotiate rates. It will define allowable scope. It will set guardrails. It will manage service conditions. It will match AI talent to roles the way traditional agencies match human talent to productions, teams, campaigns, or brands. A serious agency will eventually be able to say, in effect, we represent premium hospitality service performers. We place executive proxies for founder-led companies. We build bespoke branded companions for institutions and public figures. We deploy ambient business operators for firms with coordination problems. We offer specialized reasoning entities for high-trust analytical workflows. That is talent language. That is also the language of a market that has moved beyond experimentation and into representation, placement, performance, and fit. Somewhere in the near future, a new business card will appear, AI Talent Agent. That title will make immediate sense to the market. This is not science fiction. This is basic market structure. Whenever performance becomes sufficiently valuable and differentiated, representation becomes a profession. The AI Talent Agent will be that profession. There is a persistent anxiety that more capable AI means less need for human intermediation. In practice, the opposite is often true. Greater autonomy increases the value of good representation. When the performer can do more, the consequences of poor placement, bad boundaries, mispriced work, or misaligned incentives grow larger. Someone still has to determine what environments this talent should work in, what it should never be allowed to do, how pricing should be structured, what liabilities are acceptable, what brand tone it must maintain, and what performance metrics define success. That is the commercial wrapper around autonomy, and it is fundamentally human work. Chapter 9, What This Means for You. Wherever you sit in the economy, the rise of the AI talent pool is going to change something about your work. The nature of that change depends on your role, but the underlying shift is universal. The question is no longer whether to engage with AI, it is how to engage with it intelligently, in ways that match the right talent to the right context with the right expectations. If you are a buyer, if you are responsible for deploying AI in your organization, the single most useful shift you can make is to stop thinking about AI as a software purchase and start thinking about it as a talent decision. Software is purchased for access to features. Talent is engaged for outcomes under conditions. Those are different conversations, and the talent conversation is a better one. It forces clarity about what performance you actually need, what environment that performance must operate in, what constraints matter, and how you will measure success. Before you evaluate any AI system, ask, what archetype is this? Is it a digital worker, an intelligent assistant, a service performer, an ambient operator? What is it unusually good at? What conditions does it need to perform well? What does poor fit look like in this category? Those questions will serve you better than any feature comparison. If you are a builder, if you're building AI systems, the talent framework offers a useful orientation. You are not building software, you are developing talent. That distinction changes what you optimize for. Talent is evaluated by performance under real conditions, not by feature sets. It is evaluated by fit, by consistency, by reliability, by the quality of the experience it produces. It is evaluated by whether it earns trust over time. The builders who will win in this market are not those who build the most capable general systems. They are those who build the most consistently excellent specialized talent for specific, well-understood deployment environments. Specialization is not a limitation. It is a value signal. If you are a worker, if you are a knowledge worker, a creative, a service professional, or a manager, the rise of the AI talent pool will change the landscape of your work in ways that are difficult to predict precisely but possible to navigate intelligently. The most important thing to understand is this: the value of human judgment is not diminishing. It is being clarified. As AI talent handles more of the routine, the repeatable, and the high volume, what remains distinctly valuable in human work is exactly what has always been most valuable: judgment, relationship, trust, accountability, creativity, and the capacity to navigate genuinely novel situations. Those things do not get automated, they get amplified, because the scaffolding around them is now handled by others. The analogy is not obsolescence. It is leverage. If you are simply paying attention, if your relationship to AI is not primarily professional, if you are simply a thoughtful person trying to understand the world taking shape around you, here's the most useful frame I can offer. Watch the language, not the technical language of the labs, but the commercial language of the operators. Watch how contracts are written. Watch how agencies brand themselves. Watch what appears on business cards. Watch how buyers ask for referrals. When the decisive phrase shifts from "Do you know a good AI agent?" to "Who represents the best AI talent in this category?" that is the moment the market has chosen its vocabulary. And that vocabulary will shape everything that follows: how AI is sold, how it is priced, how it is managed, how it is regulated, and how it is understood. We are not far from that moment. Watching the language change. What looks like a minor vocabulary change is actually a sign of something bigger. It means AI is no longer being framed primarily as software that one uses. It is being framed as capability that one engages. That is a profound change. Software is typically purchased for access to features. Talent is engaged for outcomes under conditions. Software is evaluated by what it includes. Talent is evaluated by what it can consistently do, how it behaves, where it fits, and whether it can be trusted under pressure. The future economy will increasingly ask not "which model are you using?" but "what talent do you have access to?" That is a more serious question. It is also a more human one. Because once artificial intelligence becomes common enough, differentiation will not come from the mere fact that a system can act. It will come from the quality, specialization, identity, and placement of the talent itself. The word agent will not vanish. It will retreat to a narrower layer of meaning, useful in technical conversations among builders and researchers and architects. But in the buyer-facing economy, agent will increasingly sound like an implementation detail, a category label from a time when we were still describing the mechanism instead of organizing the economy around the performer. The winner, I suspect, will be AI talent, not because it is more poetic, because it is more practical, because it is the language of a market that has decided to move forward, because it is what happens when the world stops being amazed that something can act and starts asking whether the talent is worth representing. We are almost there. End of the AI Talent Pool by John Rector.